Hello and welcome to Friday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic. A happy Valentine's Day to you all. I'm going to do the video today. I think Mark is very busy opening Valentine's Day cards, and you can see on the screen a beautiful looking puzzle, and this is by the brilliant Dutch constructor Aad Van De Wetering. So a special puzzle for Valentine's Day. Now, there's a couple of rules I need to tell you about in this puzzle. So you can see there are two sort of heart shapes, one of which is grey, and those cells must all be odd numbers. So these ones here have all got to be odd, going around the grid, and yep, the pink ones have got to be even. But there's one more thing to note, and that's to do with this central 3x3 box, which apparently contains a sum in it. So these three squares plus, so treat these three squares as a 3-digit number, add them to these three squares, treating these three squares as a 3-digit number, and you will get this 3-digit number here, which I've put in a cage just to try and make it a little bit clear. And that's how the puzzle works. Now, this should be fun. Aad's puzzles are always brilliant. So with that, I'm going to have a go at it. If you want to have a go, click on the link under the video, and that will take you to this web page where you should be able to play along. Now, let's see. We can enter a 9 here straight off the bat because of these 9s. Look, those two. And okay, we've got 6. Ah, yes, I see. So we've got a 4-6 pair and a 4-6 pair down here. Now let's have a think about how they interact on this block. So you can see those squares can't be 4 or 6. Neither can those squares. But these two squares also can't be 4 and 6 because they are grey. So this square must be a 4 or a 6, and it also therefore must be a pink square. Now I'm tempted to break some hearts here, and I am going to do that. I'm going to start entering in. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to completely bust this up. I'm going to enter every square that I can see is odd. I'm going to make grey just to help my scanning, because I can see now, you see, I've got 4 pink squares in this column. So this square must be an odd digit. And I'm going to try and keep track of that. In fact, look at that, I've got my 4 pink squares also in row 2. So obviously between the numbers 1 and 9, we've got 2, 4, 6 and 8. Now this is really good now, because now I need 2 more pink squares for box 3. We now know they must be those 2. And now I've got 4 pink squares in column 8. So those must also be grey. Oh, this is gorgeous. So now I get... Oh, why have they... They're a funny colour. I want those to be pink. Okay, is that a bit better? So now you can see down in box 9, we've got the 4, 6 here. I've managed to narrow down these 2 squares to being even, and I have an 8 there. So this one's got to be 8. That one's got to be 2. This one must be 4 or 6 to complete the column. Oh, and in fact, which is the other one that must be 4 and 6? This one. So these two have got to be 2 and 8. There must be an 8 in one of these 3 squares. And, yeah, now look, if we look at this box here, not only can I label this cell grey because I've got 4 pink squares already, but this 4 and this 4 rule out those 2 from being 4s. So this must be the 4. These 2 must be 2 and 6. I was about to write a 4 into that one, but that would be wrong, because you can see if we look up here, it's still possible that this square will be even. So I need to pencil mark 4s at the top there. This square can't be a 4 or a 6, so that must be a 2 or an 8. And, now hang on. this square must be pink, look, because that's the only option for the 4th pink square in row 7. So, and this must be a 2 or a 6. Oh, come on, 2 or 6. So we've got 1 pink square to come from here. 2 out of these 3 must be even. Ah, column 4. Look, I've got 1, 2, oh no, I thought I had 4 then. I think I counted that one in my brain. Ah, no, but I have got that in column 6. I've got 4 pink squares in column 6. So we can enter more grey ones in. Now that's interesting. See, I would have only had to know one of these to know that the other one would have to be the same parity. Obviously, if I add an even number to an odd number, I'm always going to get an odd number in the unit's position. So let's just see. We now know that. Okay, what am I meant to do now? I've got loads of positions where 1 of 2 squares, or 1 of 3 squares, or 2 of 3 squares have to be even digits. Ah, central row I can do a bit more in. Let's do that. I've got to be a bit careful here. I was about to note that I could use parity again here around this odd digit, but of course it's possible I will get a 1 carry from the unit sum, so I don't know for sure. No, I don't know for sure that these offset. Okay, so I need to be a little bit careful. 2, 8, 4, 6, 2, 8. So what am I meant to do here? Perhaps, well, that digit, look, we know that these are all 3 digits in this sum, so I can't make this square too big, or this would have to have a 4-digit answer. So that's got to be 1, 2, or 3. And it can't be 3, because if it's a 3, this would have to be a 9, and it can't be a 9. So this is a 1 or a 2, and therefore this is a 7 or an 8. 2, 7. Oh, gorgeous. Okay, so now we can see something. If I make this a 2, this is brilliant. If I make this a 2, this has to be an 8. And that gives us 5 even digits in column 4, which we know is impossible. So it is not possible for this to be a 2. This is a 1. Okay, so this is an odd digit, obviously. Let's just count now. 1, 2. Yes, now look, we've got 5 odd digits along row 4 of the grid. So these 2 must be even digits. 2, 3. So now I've got an odd digit plus an even digit. Now if this was in the units column, I'd obviously know that this would have to be an odd digit, but because we don't know whether these 2 squares are adding up to a number greater than 10, I cannot assume I know the value of this one, annoyingly. I guess I know that's a 2 or an 8, so why don't we put that in? Oh, now here's some more logic. Look, here it is. This is very nice. So let's think about this. If I put an 8 into this square, what happens? And because we know this is 1 plus 6, so if I have an 8 here, bearing in mind I can't put a 1 here because the 1's there, these 2 digits have to sum to greater than 10 or greater. Now the moment that happens, I have to carry the 1 over into this column, so I will have 1 plus 6 will equal 8. So I cannot put 8 here because this will give me a repeated 8 in the box. So this is a 2. Therefore, oh, now we might be off. We might be off and running. So we get 6 and 2 into, 6 and 2 into those 2 squares. 2 into one of these two squares. If we have a look over here, no, that's not good enough. Bother. It must be a 2 in one of those two positions. I'm not sure whether I meant to use... Ah, that's got to be a 6. I should have spotted that before. That might be helpful. So that's a 6 as well. So this must... Ah, yeah, okay. So if we look here, we've got a 4-6 pair. So this square can only be a 2 or an 8. Now that gives us a 2-8 pair in row 2. So this has to be a 4. Which means this has to be a 4 because we've got all of the even digits in this box. So now this is a 4. Okay, so now we're off and running again. 6, 6. One of those two must be a 6. We don't yet know about the parity of this one. This must be a 6. This must be an 8 now to complete the row. This is a 2-6 pair now, so again we can resolve that. We get a 6 and a 2, and that puts a 6 into that square. This is a 2 now. Oops. 2, 8. So this is an 8. This is a 2. Goodness me, we're starting to make excellent progress. So now I need 2 and 4 into these two squares. And I've still got a conundrum about these last few evens especially. Except look, I've got 5 odds now in this column. So the rest of this column is even. There you go. That must be useful. This has only one option, given it's an even digit. It must be 4. This has to be 2 or 8, but I don't think we know which. That's got to be 2 or 8, and we don't know which. Oh, that's slightly surprising. I thought that was going to clear up the rest of the... So we... Must be a 7 in one of these two squares. I'm sort of a bit reluctant to go into the odd digits though, because we don't have many of them. I think I've got to look at this central box again. Let's come back to this and just have a think. So we know we've used the 1. So these 3 squares here are 3, 5, 7 and 9 in some order. So let's look at the options. This square can't be a 7 because that would put a 1 into this square. We can't have a 1 there. And this square can never be 5 because for this square to be 5, I'd need to put a 1 into this square. Right, so if this is a 3 or a 5, this doesn't carry a digit over into this column. So if this is 3 or 5, I get 7 or 9 here. 5. This then would have to be... this can never be... This can... No, this square can never be a 9, look. Because if this square is a 9, it's either going to add to 11, and that would put a 1 here, or if there's a carry from this side, that would put a 2 here, and that's not possible. So this is never 9. Right. Now, okay, so now we've sorted out the central box, because we now know for certain that there is no carryover into this column, and we know that because even if I make this as large as possible and I make this as 7, 7 plus 2 is 9. Now if I did get a 1 carry from the units column, that would give me a 10 total for these two squares. And that would put a 0 into that square. Now we know Sudoku doesn't include 0, ergo we know for sure that there is no carry into this column. So this is a 7. And that, look, is our last odd digit. So now we get to place an 8 here, I think. And that's obviously even, so I will avoid my OCD kicking in and write that in. That must be, oh, that's going to be a 4 now. This must be grey. And that gives us, this digit must be a 2 or an 8, and we can resolve it. Okay, so we were, I think, meant to look at that sum in order to make the progress. So now this square is grey. This square must be 8, because we still need a 4th even digit. This square must be a 2. We need a 4th even digit in column 3. These two must both be grey now. We can remove 7 from these two squares. Now can we fix the sum? Yeah, this must be 5. If I put a 3 into this square, obviously 2 plus 3, there's nothing I could carry over that would make it as big as 8. So we can remove the 5 here. Oh, and because of the ordering, we're going to be able to resolve the fact that the top cell must be the 9. 9 plus 4 is 13, so we get the 3 here, the 1 carry. 2 plus 5 plus 1 is 8. 1 plus 6 is 7, so this is the correct central box. Lovely. Okay, so how do we finish off the rest of it? So we can put in the 2 and the 4 up there. Move that 4. 5 means we get 5s into, oh, let me get my pencil marking right. 5s into one of those two squares. 1s into one of these two squares. 3 is nice. Now the 3 is nice because of its effect on this box. It locks a 3 into one of these two squares, which is, again, that locks a 3 into one of those two squares. We scan upwards, we find the 3 from the central sum, and that resolves that we get a 3 here and a 5 here. This must be a 1-7 pair. Let's tidy up the 7 pencil marks and see where we go now. So we've now got 3s up here. 5s are fixed. And this must be a 1 to complete the row. And that is very nice because that locks a 1 into this square, which locks a 1 into this square, which locks a 1 and a 3. Yeah, I think we are on the right track. The 1 and the 7 can now be resolved. The 7 and the 5 can now be placed. Up here you can see we need these two squares to be 7 and 9. These two squares to be 3 and 5. This square has to be a 3 or a 5 looking at the column, but if we scan across there's a 3. So it's 5, 5, 3 in that order. These squares have got to be 3, 7 and 9. So again we get 9. These two are 3 and 7 unresolved yet, but I think we're going to get them soon. Those two squares are they 3 and 9? Yep. So these are 1 and 7. Oh, I meant to put those in like that. Let's fix that. And what's going to be the most efficient way of doing this? 7s perhaps, because 7 is locked into one of those squares, which locks a 7 here. 1s, 5s. There must be a 5 in one of these two squares. Still need to place a 3 in here as well, which I can't yet do, and a 9. 9s must be, there must be something about 9s that we can see. What about 1s as well? Yeah, that's going to be a 1. That should help because that's going to unlock this central section. 7s and 9s in this order now. This square is forced to be a 3. That forces a 3 down there, look. These squares have got to be 5 and 9, now resolvable by reference to the 5 there. That 9 gets the 9 and the 3 out of the way. This 9 fixes the 9s in this box. And I think we've done it. And we have. So happy Valentine's Day to you all. I hope you enjoyed the puzzle. As usual, a stunning, stunning effort from Aad Van De Wetering. So a big thanks to him, and a thanks to his friend Aad as well for sending it in. And we'll be back tomorrow with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.